What's up, guys? Kyokai1994 here again to talk to you about anything. You guessed it, Dragon Ball. From Ball to Z and everything in between. And recently in talks with my good friend that I have with me today, the idea of creating video basically centered around answering questions for a newbie about the series was thrown around. So, that's what we're doing today. I want to introduce my good friend Jeff to the channel for the very first time. How are you doing today, Jeff? Are you ready to talk about some Dragon Ball?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
That's good, man. I'm glad to, have you on the channel. We've been good friends for several years, and I know anime is something that we have in common, but I know that we don't always talk about the same animes. I know it's other things that, bring us together, like Xbox and video games. But my friend Jeff here has seen very few Dragon Ball episodes and is here today and has some questions that he needs finally answered. So I'm going to pass it over to him so that he can ask his first question.
So, tell me about the history. I feel like that's really iconic to the story itself and is important. And I just want to know, like, how did it start? Why did it start? Where did the idea come from?
Okay, so I know that I'm not going to dive in and do a full this happened, and this happened. But Dragon Ball and the following series that success it are a creation from a very popular Japanese artist and writer named Akira Toriyama. After becoming successful in manga through his work Dr. Slump, he then started to work on a soon-to-be world-renowned Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is the story of a child named Goku and his adventures through his life, learning about the world, his true self, and the power that is hidden deep inside him. It follows him through his childhood and into his young adulthood. The manga continues through to the end of what we know of the series of Dragon Ball Z, but the manga continues the name Dragon Ball. The anime names everything after the time skip following the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, Dragon Ball Z. So all of the adulthood that we see with Goku is called Dragon Ball Z. Through Z, we see Goku have a family and save the world with the help of many others against several threats along the years. And through all of that, we are given the most, what I would say, iconic anime and manga that has been, used in several different works as references, and there are plenty of other manga creators that have credited Akira Toriyama, saying that he is the reason they started doing what they do. And people who are influenced by Akira Toriyama would be like the creator of Naruto is one of them. I do also want to say I believe the creator of One Piece also mentioned that Akira Toriyama was a big influence in his life as well. So that would be my quick little introduction and brief history of where Dragon Ball came from. So I think we can move on to the next question.
Okay. So, with that, Dragon Ball's been around for years, probably longer than I've been alive.
About 30 years, yeah.
Okay, so
give or take a couple years over 30.
Definitely longer than I've been alive. What makes it so iconic? Why is it such a popular discussion topic, not only in Japan, but also in America?
Okay, so it came to the States, I want to say about 10 years after it actually came out, and we have infamous like dub problems and things like that, but now it's actually pretty solid. But that to the side, I feel that it's very iconic because it seems that at a young age, we all, no matter what race or where we are in the world, all chase after and are hit by certain themes and characters and stories, such as Dragon Ball and many others. And this is what people flock to and want to see, and this is what makes them follow the series. But with Dragon Ball itself and the amazing artwork, the running themes, references to other works such as American works and Chinese works and other Japanese works, we get to see this interesting off-the-whim writing style that keeps us coming back to see what happens next. And it seems to have spread, and this is something that can't be killed. The bug has already been set. People's love for the series is not going to die anytime soon, and especially since they had the kind of second coming of it back with the movie Battle of the Gods, and then the following Resurrection F and into the creation of Dragon Ball Super, the series. It seems that it's probably not going to die for a few more years, give or take, probably ever to me. And just the title of icon, I feel like, is never going to be lost inside Dragon Ball. It's always going to be iconic. It's always going to be amazing. There's problems with animation and writing and stuff like that, but when you look at the work overall, just the influence that it's had on other writers, other works, other things that it's, made as big as it is, it can't lose the title of an icon.
Okay. And so what is it based around? You know, most stories, usually fiction or non, come from some type of central point, like a personal story or things like that. What did we base Dragon Ball around?
Okay, so Akira Toriyama, uh, with Dragon Ball, loosely are based the original series on one work. Now, I will say, with his deadlines for the manga, he liked to actually take a few days off and cram all of his writing and drawing just into the last couple days. So it being produced kind of felt to a lot of people like they could never figure out what was going on. It was a very, like I said earlier, off the whim writing style, and it's something that actually was very successful for him. But Dragon Ball's original concept and parts of its first arc were originally very, very, very loosely based around the Chinese tale Journey to the West. But you can quickly see it transform into what would be considered a classic and slowly turn into what everybody thinks of as Dragon Ball, the fighting manga, the story, the power-ups, the transformations, the actual like just insane battles. We would slowly see it turn into that. But you do get to see remnants of Journey to the West, but it becomes unrecognizable other than the small traces that linger on through the first little part of Dragon Ball. So that's what I would really say it was based around, but I mean, he has so many different influences that he's gotten from Western television and stories and everything that it quickly was not about that at all. Goku himself is based on the main character from Journey to the West, Son Wukong. I do believe, if I'm right, Son Goku would be the translation in Japanese of Son Wukong. So there's remnants of that and his transformations and his power pole and his flying cloud, the Nimbus, and stuff like that kind of like was peppered in. But like I said again, it was quickly kind of dashed to the back when it turned into this amazing adventure to find these crystal orbs.
All right. So with that, we're talking again 30 years worth of different anime, manga, shows, different series. Where would you recommend that a new fan start with all this?
Okay, so I am going to take, I guess, a pretty easy whack at this, but whenever I talk to somebody about Dragon Ball who hasn't seen it, I always suggest just sitting down and starting from the beginning. If you like to read manga, I say just buy the first chapter, read it till the very end of Z, but I recommend just sitting down and starting. If you buy the blue bricks or the orange bricks, which are very not popular with the community, it's still a way to sit down. You can find them pretty cheap on Amazon, and it's a good way to just marathon it out. I want everyone to read the beauty that is the Dragon Ball manga, but I do know that a lot of people would rather just watch the show, so I say start from the first episode of Dragon Ball and just continue on through GT, which is also unpopular with a lot of people, and I also say you should watch the movies. They're not technically in the same timeline, but they do a good job of accurately depicting what Dragon Ball is. I always, whenever I sit down with something new, I want to watch the whole thing. I want to watch it all. I want to know everything about it. That's kind of why I have obsessions like Dragon Ball, and it's probably not healthy, but it's the way I decide to, spend my time. But if you don't want to watch him as a child growing up, and you just want to see the Goku that you've seen clips of, on the internet transforming and fighting, then I suggest at least going with Dragon Ball Kai. It's a very shortened down version. They take out a lot of the filler. They still leave some of it. There's still inconsistencies and things like that. People say it's true to the manga, but it's truer to the manga than the original series actually is, but it's not the adaptation of the manga that would be completely accurate to what goes on in the pages. But if you do have any questions about the things you've missed from not watching Dragon Ball, hey, you can always search YouTube for the answers. Some people in certain spaces make great Dragon Ball content. Wink, wink.
All right. Well, and hey, just remember that it's only a problem if you admit you have a problem.
No, I understand, but I have a problem. So that, I mean, that is the first step to,
But
conquering your addiction, is actually accepting that you have one.
very true. So next question. Who would you say is the strongest character in your opinion to date? And to follow that, the weakest character in your opinion?
Again, another one of these questions that is going to come out kind of haphazardly, but I want to start off that it's a little hard to answer this question since power levels have been gone since the Frieza arc with the Scouters. There's not really an accurate representation of a real power level. There are people on YouTube who make a living off of what we call power scaling characters, and I personally do not scale at all, so almost all of my opinions of strongest and weakest are off my opinion. There are, like I said, plenty of people who dive in and actually like compare characters and put them here and there, but you can always check that out on other people's YouTube channels. It's very interesting, and I do suggest at least one or two of them just to kind of get in the mindset of those guys. But in Dragon Ball Super, which is the newest series airing at the time of this conversation that we're having, and takes place in the time gap of Dragon Ball Z between the defeat of Kid Buu and Goku leaving to train Oob, we are told with the god hierarchy that Zeno is the strongest in existence. He's the top god. And at least so far, before we are introduced to something that tops him, I really would have to say he is the strongest. Now, that is kind of a cop-out, like I was saying. But since he's told to us to be the strongest character, I will agree that he is the strongest character. But trying to think of the weakest is actually what's really hard. Most would say that it's Yamcha or Kudadin or Krillin that you would know him as. But I want to say the weakest character, in my opinion, is actually Mr. Satan. He's strong on a human level. He's not stronger than Krillin or Yamcha because he doesn't know how to control his ki. He can't do ki attacks and can't manipulate ki. He can't fly. So I would say he is actually the weakest of the characters. I would say side characters that were actually shown, because I mean there's plenty of Earthlings that are shown in the show that have nothing to do with the show. They're just background characters, and I assume they would be weaker. But out of main cast and side characters, I would think Mr. Satan is. I love him, and there are other Earthlings, like I said, that I know are weaker, but the main characters and the main side characters, strength-wise, to him, he's just the weakest, though his fame does save the universe once or twice, so that is pretty interesting to see in the future.
Awesome. And to just put in reference for people that don't know outside of the Japan or outside of the American anime, Mr. Satan is Hercule, correct?
Yes, completely. His name is Hercule. They changed it for kind of just like censorship and everything. They are now back in the American dub saying Mr. Satan. They did say it through Kai, but in Super, they continued that to just call him Mr. Satan. So it's actually kind of interesting. I could do a whole video, and I probably will. There have been some done before about dub changes and everything that the American cast had to work with. There have been two casts, both produced by Funimation, but there was an in-house one, and there was also one in Canada that had filmed the first two seasons. They actually recorded that, and that was all the way through the Frieza arc, and they had the Funimation in-house dub cast that are the people who do it now. They had them re-record that later on. But with their dub, they called him Hercule. So that is something interesting that I can dive into in the future.
Okay. Just to clarify, again, being that person who has very little to no intelligence when it comes to Dragon Ball Z at all.
Oh, that's okay. Any questions are welcome here.
But okay, so moving on. Another opinion, personal thing. What is your favorite story arc of the series so far?
Okay, so of the technical 4 series of Dragon Ball, my favorite arc comes from Dragon Ball Z, and is the arc that my favorite character is introduced, Trunks. And it foretells of the androids running all the way to the Cell games. I would call that personally the Trunks arc. It is technically split into a couple different arcs, but I say like anything from when he comes in and kills a certain enemy that is shown again and foretells to Goku that androids will be coming, that he will soon fall ill, and the world will basically be plunged into this evil game that these androids play. From there, all the way up until Cell, waits out his 10 days to fight everybody on Earth. I call that the Trunks arc or the Android arc. That's what I would call it. But Trunks is my favorite character. He's always been my favorite character. Immediately the first time that I saw him, he just made me fall in love. I see a lot of similarities with his life and my life, and it's just, I connect with his character more than I connect with anybody else's character. And like I said, he's my favorite character in the franchise. Before the introduction of Goku Black and Dragon Ball Super, the androids and Cell were actually my favorite villains, so that also helped me enjoy that arc even more. I also always come back to watch or read that on a pretty much regular basis. Like, every couple weeks I'll pick up the manga and, just read through those chapters, or I'll, if I'm bored, sit down and actually watch those episodes just for fun.
Awesome. So, next question. Let's speculate here for a second. If you were able to obtain the Dragon Balls, what would be your wish?
I think if I gathered all of the Dragon Balls and summoned Shenron myself, I'd use the power of the dragon, just like a lot of other people. I wouldn't use it, I feel, for wealth or for greed. And we're talking about back in the day, I feel, when you get one wish. They have upgraded the amount of wishes and everything since Dende took over. But just going back on the one wish from the dragon, I would probably do what Goku does most of the time, and I would use the power to bring back a family member who has passed and gone on to the other world. I feel like out of everything that I could wish for, that would be the one that brought me the most happiness. If money can make you happy, things can make people happy. Materialism is a thing, but to me, if I could have a family member back that has passed, I think that would be the most gratifying thing that I could have, and that would be the most non-selfish wish that I can make that would bring happiness to multiple people, and that's what I would use the wish for.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely very selfless.
They use that wish a lot, though. They bring a lot of people back. It does start to take out the presence of death from Dragon Ball. There are some rules about how many times you can be brought back and things like that, but with the multiple sets of Dragon Balls and things like that, death is kind of not a problem anymore in the series, and it doesn't hold as much drama as it once did. But if you watch Dragon Ball, it's pretty dramatic when characters die.
Yeah, well, and it's the easiest way to pull at people's heartstrings, just due to the fact that what people crave most, and what they don't realize they crave most, is that personal interaction. So
most definitely, and you never know how much you're going to miss somebody until they're taken from you immediately. And I don't want to make this a sad video or anything, but I do just want to put the side note of, just if you have a loved one that you need to say something to, just say it. Just leave everything out on the table with them, because we're not given everything in this world, and we're not given an infinite amount of time. We're given a very small amount of time, and no matter your religious beliefs or anything, we only have a certain amount of time on this earth. You want to use it to do good, promote yourself, be the best you that you can be, but you never realize how much it affects you when somebody so close actually passes. And it also, you don't realize that it can happen literally in the middle of the night or anything.
Exactly. So to wrap up here, I just have one last question. How would you encourage a new fan of the series to stick with something? Again, we're talking 30 years worth of content, and to feel like you're even somewhat versed in the series and the information, there's a lot to grasp.
No, there is a lot to grasp. There's a lot of content. You also, I recommend watching it in both English and Japanese. If you happen to speak any other languages, I recommend watching it in the languages that you know to be familiarized with the series. But I feel like if you start from the first chapter of the manga or the first episode of the Dragon Ball anime, you won't really have to be encouraged to finish it. Most likely it's going to grab your attention pretty quick, and you're going to lose like multiple days of your life all of a sudden, and you're just going to maybe wake up, but you're going to realize that you're caught up pretty fast after you've just kind of just gone on and gone on and gone on. Now, you may have a beard after the fact because you've been like in your room for so long, just cramming out these episodes and just trying to, do your best to catch up. But like I said, if you just sit down and you got like some free time, anytime that you have 20 minutes to spare to just catch up, you're going to be caught up with Dragon Ball Super, and you're going to be watching it next week with me and everybody else so that we're excited for the new episodes. So I really feel like encouragement of watching it isn't a lot. Now, there are other series like One Piece that are 800 plus episodes, Naruto that's just a massive amount of episodes in it, and it's really hard to wrap your brain at that when you see how many episodes you have left. But when you just put it on marathon mode and you're just going down and going down, you'll realize that the adventure has drawn you in, and you now have a problem with watching Dragon Ball, and it is like a daily problem.
Again, it's not a problem until you admit you have one.
That's completely true. But
hey,
were there any other questions that you had about the series, Jeff, that you wanted to ask?
No, I think that you have covered definitely my curiosities as a new viewer and how I would go about it, and some interesting key points to look into. And I want to say thank you for your time, Brandon.
Oh, no problem. I've known you for like 7 years, so you are always more than welcome to have any of my time, Jeff. But I do want anybody who's going to want to start watching Dragon Ball. I don't feel like there's anybody that watches my channel that doesn't already watch it. But if you need the encouragement, I definitely, like I said, suggest just sitting down and watching it. There's plenty of life lessons you can learn from this show. There's plenty of themes and hidden meanings behind everything. So the show, if you kind of use it in a good way, can teach you positive things about life. And that's another series that I do want to dive down into later in the future, the meanings behind Dragon Ball and how you can take those and put them into your life and actually use them for a better purpose. But I'm going to close out the video. I want you guys to like the video if you actually enjoyed it. I want you guys to like it if you liked Jeff's questions. I want you guys to like it if you guys liked my responses. I want you guys to comment down below any questions you have about the series, or any ideas of how you got into the series, or just anything about Dragon Ball. I want you guys to interact with me in the comment section down below. Now, Jeff is not a YouTuber per se. He does have a YouTube channel. He's more of a streamer, and he streams multiple games online. That is how I know him so well, as we've played Xbox for years together. And I want you guys to go check out his Twitch stream. I'm going to leave his link to his Twitch in the description below so you guys can go check out him. He's super funny, always hunting for shiny Pokemon, and you can catch me and him probably raiding in Destiny 2, probably pretty frequently, because I feel like he is streaming most of the time that I'm talking to him. But if you guys, like I said, enjoyed the video, I want you to leave a like. I want you guys to subscribe to the channel for more future content like this and multiple different varieties. I have gameplay that I have on Dokkan. I have just side stories that I do very frequently that are very popular. I bring on a lot of guests onto my channel because I really like talking to multiple people. I don't like just doing everything by myself. I like having somebody else's input and everything into it. But I also try to do important things on the series and just break down discussions and things like that and theories. The most important thing from the end of this is I want you guys to have an amazing day. I want you guys to do something amazing with your life and just believe in yourself. I'm always trying to spread positivity, and I want you guys to just be happy. And I'll catch you guys next time.